Call to meeting the May 10th, 2017 Wicomico County Council meeting. The first item on the agenda is the Board of Elections. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Just fine, thank you.
If you could announce to the public your name, your title for the record.
Anthony Gutierrez, Wicomico County Election Director.
Thank you. If you could, maybe give us an overview of what's changed in your budget and what's changed, I guess, overall with the responsibilities that have been put upon you, usually by the state of Maryland.
Right.
So appreciate you being here this morning.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Last year, in the 2016 presidential elections, primary and general, we rolled out the new Maryland voting system. It's a paper ballot-based system. It is a rental system by the through the State Board of Elections office in Annapolis. And so that will serve as our baseline year for budgeting purposes and other election management functions. In addition, we're extremely grateful that the county has procured a new office, a new location for the Board of Elections. That's at 345 Snow Hill Road, the former Shin Paint Company building. And we've already got the voting system and the polling place supplies all moved in, and unfortunately it's already full. But we just completed, in conjunction with the county purchasing office, the bids for an addition to be built on the side of the building in that grassy area. And once that's completed, we'll be closing down the Bateman Street office and moving our administrative functions into that new addition when it's completed. So those are a couple of things that are affecting our budget. We are asking for a little bit more money than last year. Again, last year served as our baseline year for budgeting purposes, so we couldn't do any kind of projection starting out. So we have a little bit better idea now how many election judges we want to deploy to make sure that all voters are very comfortable with the system and that they have the assistance that they need if they're not quite familiar making that transition yet from touchscreen to the new paper ballot system. In addition, the cost through the contract is a little bit higher for us, and there's a few more pieces of equipment such as delivery carts that we've not had before that are also impacting. And finally, just those other transitional costs to complete the consolidation into going from 2 locations into 1. Certainly hopeful that happens around the first of the year, which would be midway through fiscal 2018. So we still need operational costs to have both locations open to serve the public on Bateman Street as we are now, and to have the security and everything maintained to have the equipment stored on Snow Hill Road.
Okay. You said that the Bateman Street location will be open for how long? Or
It'll be open and for the duration until the addition is completed and everything's the internal parts are done, and then once we're allowed to take control of that additional space, then we'll move everything from Bateman into Snow Hill Road addition, and then that's when the public will be allowed into the Snow Hill Road area. Right now, it's basically a warehouse for us.
How many square feet are you adding on?
I believe around 3,200 square foot, 3,170, something like that in the bid that we just finished last week.
What's the current size of the building you're in now?
4,400.
So you're almost doubling it?
It'll take it up to around 10,000, so a little more than doubling it, yes.
Okay.
So, how long ago did you move into the Shin building?
I believe we took possession around July 1st, around the first of the current fiscal year, last summer.
All right, and I mean, the whole purpose to move in there was to move out of Bateman, and but I see, we're paying, again, to keep operating the Bateman Street. I mean, why is it taking so long? I mean, has there been a holdup with approval of the plans and things like that, or what? The hope was we wouldn't be having to pay this, $15,000 in, operating costs and moving expenses in this fiscal year. That was, I think, supposed to be taken care of last, or the current fiscal year, not the next fiscal year. So could you elaborate on that any?
I'm afraid I'd have to refer those questions to the county administration on that. They're in the process of procuring that. Well, they did the initial procurement of the building, which again, we're extremely grateful. We're going to have a lot of advantages and benefits we don't have at Bateman Street. One example is in the Bateman Street warehouse, we don't have air conditioning or heating. And under the new rental contract for this paper ballot-based system, it requires climate controls, which we could not accept those delivery of equipment at the Bateman Street office. So we've been renting different temporary facilities around the county for the past few elections, and so now they are in Shin, and it's taken care of, but the current structure is full right now. So again, I'd have to refer process questions to the county administration.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it just seems, this is, before I was even on the council, you were looking for election, headquarters, and, kind of knew what the specifications were, and finally got this, and then it seems, and I'm not blaming you by any means, but it just kind of seems ridiculous that we're paying, once again, another year of rent, and, this should have, once the Shin building was purchased, all this should have been taken care of, but, we are where we are, and, obviously we have to pay the rent, we got to take care of it, but I'm a little dismayed that it's going into another fiscal year. And who knows, maybe another fiscal year after that, the way things have been going. So again, I'm not saying that's your fault by any means, but I'm just expressing general frustration.
What is the holdup?
Again, the process is for the county to procure a building for the Board of Elections to operate and maintain the voting equipment. So,
But we already purchased the building.
yes, and as I said, it's full right now. It's pretty much full. It's got our voting equipment and our polling place supplies. So we need room to have the staff, have the places for the public to come in and register to vote, do their absentee in voting. We'd certainly like to do some training, which we're not able to do at the Bateman Street, and the Shin addition will allow us to do that.
John?
So if I understand, the Shin building was basically the same size as the Bateman Street building, so you really didn't gain anything, and that's the reason you need the addition, so you can go ahead and use it for storage. And right now you're using the Bateman Street for storage, and it'll be moved into the new addition, correct?
No, and I'm sorry if I misspoke on that. Currently, the Bateman Street office is about 4,400 square feet. The current Shin building structure on Snow Hill Road is 6,800 square feet, so we've already gained square footage in that. But we were housing the touchscreens at Bateman Street, which had fewer pieces of equipment and carts and things that we didn't have, and of course we didn't know prior to 2016 we were going to need. So when that was identified with this procurement on the state level, we realized, number one, the facility wasn't HVAC equipped to accept delivery. We couldn't even have it come in the door under the contract. So number two, that there were additional things such as a delivery cart, which we didn't have with the touchscreens. They were on their own 10 to a cart thing. So it's kind of apples and oranges as far as the voting equipment. And also, we don't have a conference room on Bateman Street. We don't have a multi-purpose room where we can have the public come in and do voter outreach, things like that. We certainly don't have, if anyone's ever voted absentee in office at the Bateman Street location, it's a very small area, not private at all. You're right in the front office operations area, phone calls, people talking. So the multi-purpose room is something we don't have now. So there are things that we're going to be able to add, again, hopefully for the betterment of the voting experience for the public with the current Shin structure and the addition.
Is there going to be any income realized from neighbors parking on that property? I know there's some adjoining businesses that after probably your closing time uses that parking lot quite often. Is there going to be any revenue realized from that?
I'm not aware of that, but again, that would be the county administration, since they'll be the owners of the building. It'll be a county building, how they would work that.
Mm-hmm. Being you run that organization, you wouldn't have any input into that whatsoever?
I expect it to be similar to where we are with Bateman Street. We rent now from a landlord, a private landlord, and they've been extremely kind and generous to us to use the property as we see fit. But occasionally he will let others use, and he will check with us first, which is not required. It's his private property. But Matter of fact, we have a fenced-in area in the back, a grassy area that we use occasionally when we need extra parking during elections. So, for example, now in 2017, the off year, he might allow a group of friends to come in on the weekend, and he'll open it up, and whether he charges or not, I don't know. But again, I expect it to be that similar kind of relationship between county administration and our building.
So as it is now, today, if somebody wanted to go register to vote, they would still go to Bateman Street?
That is correct. The public still goes to the Bateman Street office. We put a couple of stop signs on the glass doors at Snow Hill Road to try to help people and give them our Bateman Street number. But no, that we don't have public services on Snow Hill Road right now.
Okay, thank you.
As I understood it, and maybe we should be talking with the executive branch on this instead. I just thought that when we did the CIP and we put the 1,100,000 in the CIP, I thought that was to purchase this building and that was it, not to add. It sounds like the costs have to be higher than that. I mean, they have to be, right? So, all right, well, okay. Question, I guess, in reference specifically to the budget is that I noticed there's a lot of additional amounts that were applied to this budget as opposed to the last one. But I'm guessing that's because you're preparing for the 2018 campaign.
Yes, the June 2018 primary will happen in this FY18 fiscal
Right.
year, right at the very end. I believe it's June 26th is the date for the gubernatorial primary next year.
Okay, so really where we see increases from 51,000 to 72,000 in part-time judges and overtime going from 12,000 to 21,000, training from 0 to 5,000, 2,000. Is this all related to the election cycle?
That's right. Again, the primary election costs.
Primarily, yeah, exactly. Okay.
And another thing I might mention that's a change for us in this fiscal year, with the passage of the question for elected school board, now in Wicomico primaries, we're going to add another 10,000 voters. We have 61,000 active voters right now, or at least at the first of the month we did. And in past primaries, with unaffiliated and third-party voters not being able to participate in a gubernatorial primary, or even a presidential primary, we would always lower that by 10,000 voters, and that affects a myriad of costs, not only just the ballots themselves, but also the specimen ballot mailing and production, the supplies, the number of judges. So now all registered Wicomico voters will be able to vote in future primaries and general elections. So the cost for primaries, we don't realize kind of a cost savings, so to speak. It should be kind of a mean for a primary and a general election in the future.
Okay.
Interesting. How is your quest in getting poll watchers and poll workers, I guess is the word I want to use? You doing okay with those?
Going on the recent November 2016 presidential general, we had about 360, 370 when we count in the spares that we always hire just in case someone needs to drop off. And we were able to hit that plateau. But certainly the election itself drives the interest as far as people wanting to come out and help. And a presidential election with all that interest, and the last one we had especially, we get quite a few people stepping forward. So that's always the challenge. Will the gubernatorial primary next June generate that kind of interest, or will we have to go out and find people? We won't need quite as many. We certainly don't expect the high level of a presidential general, so we'll be able to scale back a little bit.
One of the questions that's been posed to me by somebody that does work the polls is the length of the day. And one of the questions posed to me is why you couldn't split the day up. Do somebody a half a day and another person half a day? Has there ever been any thought to that?
Sure, and some counties do that across the bridge. They have that set in place. So that's something that our Board of Elections is going to study this summer on recommendation.
So they probably heard it too.
Well, and that's a great idea because, some of our judges, like myself, are getting older, and a shorter day would be better for them to volunteer, come out and give part of a day. And now that we've gotten past the first 2 elections under our belt under the new system, we're able to look at the picture as a whole and see where can we innovate like that.
I think that's probably been the reluctance of some people to do that.
I think you're right, yes.
Yes, John?
Anthony, how many voters do you have on the registered?
61,018, I believe, at the first of this month.
And how many are active?
That is active.
That's, okay, so registered's completely different number?
The inactives, I'm sorry, I didn't look at that, maybe 5,000 or 6,000, something like that. Additional, we call those inactive voters.
Okay. Voter fraud, of course, has been a problem in the past.
Certainly.
And I haven't noticed any changes when I've voted as far as what's required of me. Now, I know my fellow council members would say, well, I've been in there since they invented paper voting, you know, but, and everybody knows it, paper. But I haven't seen any change really in, as far as documentation required for voting when I've attempted to vote, or the people in front of me or in back of me have attempted to vote. Is this stressed in the training?
Absolutely. There are a myriad of security measures that are put in place, not only right directly at the polling place with the physical security of the judges being trained, not to allow access by non-election officials to the tabulation machines, but in addition, the state board builds that in the encryption and the transfer of information from Annapolis down to the local offices, including ours. And again, back with the new Snow Hill Road location, being able to add security measures that are going to cost a little bit more money once we get those in place. You know, I don't really like to go out in public and say these are the 12 things that we've done for security, because then you got everybody targeting those things. But we certainly work in conjunction with the state board on the COMAR and the state board guidelines as far as what procedures are in place and what equipment we're using. As a matter of fact, we just had the regional representative from the state come out yesterday and was doing an audit of all of our computers, making sure that they're all, you know, current virus protected, et cetera. So there's certainly things that go on in the background. But I think that was one of the reasons for going from touchscreen to paper ballot, and it turned out that we made that move this past presidential election, and so that served us well as far as state of Maryland in general.
Thank you.
This is getting away a little bit from the budget process that we're working on, but if you had a complaint from someone they knew was registered in 2 places to vote, how do you follow up on that?
There is an administrative procedures process where the person can fill out a form and tell us the situation, and we will look into it and report to the state board. And the reason we do that is because on the local level, we don't have investigative process or powers to go out and do that. But the state board can get the state prosecutor's office or the attorney general's office and other law enforcement agencies to come down and look into that. And as a matter of fact, we've had that in one time that happened during the 10 years, almost 11 now that I've been election director. So there is a process that, and it's on the state board website. If someone wants to go online, how do I look into that administrative complaint process?
Would this cross state lines? Say somebody was registered to vote in 2 different states. Would it cross state lines, or is this just interstate?
That process I'm not familiar with. I'd have to check with the state office on how that would work interstate.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything, do you have anything for us at all?
No.
Okay, all right. That would be it. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you all.
All right, so we got 10:15 is the next one, with the library coming in. What happened was, as you know, he can cut it anytime. It's not live.
Waste problem.
He can cut it anytime. But we paid $400 for that property. And we knew that